Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to navigate a Procore project, give you the basics of it, quick hitters, not going to go into the depth of any tool, but we're going to make sure you feel comfortable navigating inside of Procore. So let's go ahead and jump in. By the way, I'm Ralph. I help people adopt Procore and adopt the tools that they have, get the most out of the existing tools in their portfolio. Okay, so when you first log into Procore, you should see the portfolio home. You'll know you're not in a project for a couple of reasons. You have the company home here at the top left. You don't see the little home icon, which you'll see on the next page. And if you look at your company tools, they have a black background. So two ways to get into a project. You can go ahead and search it here, select it right from the list, and then you can filter, configure your layout, or you can go up to your project selector here and go ahead and just select the the project right there from the list. So that's the simplest way to get into a project. So now when you're in a project, you get to your project homepage. Procore's been doing a lot to update this recently. If you're not using the new beta that's out there, go ahead and turn it on in Procore Explorer. It's so much better than it used to be. So right here, you see some basic project information, project logo, project picture right there. That's changing a little bit. You can add some notes to that project. And then you got your project team, which you can go ahead and edit that right there. These are the critical people. I can see some details on that person right there as well. Project links, if there's third-party links outside of Procore, you can put them right here. Maybe you have a planner board or something like that that sits outside of Procore that you could link right to. Project message that can be seen by everyone on the team. So maybe there's a critical project update, project's closed for such and such a thing. You're grinding terrazzo, so no one can work that day on Saturday. So here you can have your project dates. What dates are available are set up at a company level, and then you can go ahead and edit them right here and configure them and turn them on and off. At the bottom here, you have My Open Items. So you have that right there. It also lives right up here at the top right, which is across all projects and all companies. So specific to this project, all company right here. And then here's all the open items for the project. Man, I got to get my RFIs taken care of. They're really red. So that's the overview. There is a safety hub. People are working on setting up that and having that available. Here you can upload your safety documentations. I talked about that in a Procore Explorer video, but we can get this kind of work organized. Then you have your main project tools, and this is where we'll spend kind of the rest of our time here and thinking about it. So in your core tools, this is things that are shared across the entire project. So shared documents, shared users, shared companies, admin setting up that project. I'll jump into those a little bit. Locations, you should spend some time really thinking about how your project's organized and how that's set up. I have another video on that if you want to take a look at it. I have a pretty specific way that I think you should break down. Project management, each of these is its own video, but we'll jump into those in a second. And then financial, making sure your books are right, making sure your team's right, and then how do you estimate and bid a project. Kind of wish I could move these around. I used to be able to and organize them a little bit better. They kind of got rid of that. Procore got rid of that. So let's talk a little bit about each of these tools real quick, and then we'll jump in to how they all work, or some admin basically and directory, I think, are the only ones that I want to talk about. So home puts you back to this homepage. That's the project homepage. 360 reporting. Hey, Procore, you can talk about it and call it just reporting. That's okay. This is combining all this other information and putting it into a tabular report. They also have some new dashboards coming out, some little more nice charts and graphics that come with it. Documents shared across documents across your project. Generally, most people have like an M365, OneDrive, Dropbox type environment that they store most of their documents so they can collaborate there. I recommend this. Think about this like a public documents for your entire project team. Need to send something to superintendent, need to send something to a subcontractor, have it available there for you. Directory, where you add and remove users and companies from the project. You can also create distribution groups so that you can email or notify people as a group rather than just individuals. Tasks, pretty simple task management tool. I just need to get something done. Who do I assign it to? I've had people use this for like the same thing as observations. Hey, I'm walking site. I need to create a quick task for you to fix this before we go in, just so we don't forget about it. Would love to see this turn into like a Kanban board, replace some of the other stuff that you have, more robust with some like minor checklist, template tasks, and things like that. Connection Manager lets you jump and connect like things like drawings, RFIs, and submittals to another project. If you're a subcontractor, you can connect to GCs, plans and plans, and just see those. Why specs aren't in there, don't know. Admin, where I set up my project level configuration and get that all configured there. Maps is a new tool that's out. It's pretty cool. You can see where information lives on a project. So I can see where an observation is on a project, photos taken on a project. So that's really nice there as well. And then project archive, that's setting up and going ahead and like extracting. It used to be called extracts, but pulling out everything from a project and saving it. Locations, this is so you can set and assign different things like an inspection to a place on the project. General rule of thumb there is when you're setting up locations, don't think about it like your project. Think about it like the facility moving on for all of time. So what's it going to look like for someone in 10 years that needs to know, hey, where is this thing actually at? Then you have correspondence under project management. That's a notification. Have it available like, hey, I need to send a notice of delay. So official notification. You can basically build and track almost any tool through here. So anything that you're repeating over and over again, correspondence is a great tool for that. Emails. Don't recommend using the email tool, but there's an email address right inside there that you should copy and put into your Outlook that you can use as a project record. I'm sending some official notification. I'm sending official, just have it CC'd and it will create a project record. So when you win the lottery, they'll have all that information. RFIs, I got a question, need to ask the design team, need to ask my GC, it's right there. Submittals, I need approval that I'm going to install something, right? Or I need approval that this plan is the way you want it to actually installed. Transmittals, don't really use that. I usually use submittals or correspondence to replace that transmittals tool, so you can probably turn that off. Inspections, this is your checklist, right? I need to do a safety inspection, need to walk the site, make sure everything's safe. Or like, hey, I need to do a rough-in inspection. What's my pre-checklist for that to make sure everything's done, or a pre-functional checklist that everything works in an apartment, right? Incidents, I have an accident, I have some property damage, I have a near miss, I want to start tracking those. That's the tool to do it. Observations, there's a deficiency on site, or there's maybe just even something I need to remember on site that needs to get fixed by a later date. Generally, if I can fix it right away, I just fix it. If I need to come back to it later, create an observation. Punch list, end of your job, making sure everything meets the design requirements, meets the owner's requirements. That's what we do there. Meetings, wish this could get enhanced a lot, but it's a meeting minutes, it's meeting log. What are the items discussed? What was covered? What do we need to talk about again? Schedule. This is the old schedule. There's a new scheduling tool here at the bottom, but this is uploading a schedule. This is building your own project schedule. Daily log, what happened that day? Were there any delays? What was the weather? How many people were on site? Any special notes? Any deliveries? There's a bunch of things in there. Photos, put all your pictures here, please. And if you're using the mobile app, use the photos tool, upload them here, or else you're going to fill up your phone really fast with the amount of pictures we take. Drawings, what are your plans for the project? Make sure you're using versions, make sure you're using areas. So have a whole video on that. Specifications, same thing. Make sure that you upload in those in areas. If you have multiple areas, make sure they're maintained effectively. Procore, can you reflow this? Like, let's make it so that it's smart a little bit. Forms are dumb PDF forms that make them fillable. So can't pull any data. If you have information you're collecting, I recommend inspections or correspondence for that. Forms are just basic information. I know Procore is getting to the point where they're going to create some more advanced forms for safety. So watch out for those to come. So coordination and models. Here's where my model is in 3D. Here are issues related to that model. So think of these more of design and I'll call it design and like shop drawing or fabrication issues, right? Action plans, truly powerful, right? They can be used at a micro scale or a macro scale, meaning this is the big checklist that ties all your inspections, all your observations, all your meetings. So like I could use it for quality control and walk through and have the different stages of the Army Corps of Engineers quality control program, build that out. Or I could say, what's my project setup procedure? Or what's my project closeout procedure? And assign that to different people throughout. So bigger, larger steps that require multiple tools. Scheduling, building a schedule here. You're going to tie it to RFIs. You're going to tie it to submittals, tie it to other parts and pieces of the project. They're really putting time and money into that. The schedule tool was the biggest gap that Procore probably had for a while. It's not 100% as of this recording, but they're still investing, still putting time and money into that. I would use it if I'm using Excel. If I'm using Project and I'm proficient in Project, it's maybe 50-50. You could go in it. If you're using things like P6, not quite ready yet. Okay. Financial management or job costing or whatever you want to call it. Prime contract. This would be better termed client contract. Who is my client or who is the client of this project and what is the contract with them? If I'm a subcontractor, that is the GC subcontract to you. If you are, so your contract to the GC. If you're a general contractor, that's your contract to the owner or the project manager or the program management company or the developer or whatever it is. It could be like that is upstream client contract, downstream contracts, right? Upstream, downstream. Budget, where are you going to spend money on the project? What is your expected revenue? Different philosophies here. I suggest putting the entire revenue in there in that box, right? And then figuring out like include fee, zero it out each month, whole video on that. Direct costs, what are non-committed costs? It would basically be cool to call this like these are committed costs and these are non-committed costs that hit the project. So labor, big one, should appear in there. And then like miscellaneous Home Depot runs, things like that. Permits might be something you haven't wrote a commitment for, things there. Change events, commitments, subcontracts, purchase orders, materials. Think about your subcontracts as all your service agreements as well. Your professional services agreements, if you're doing things like surveying and design services, things like that. That's all in commitments. Everything that I'm going to write a contract for or an agreement for to buy on a job should be documented under commitments. No agreement, credit cards, agreement for that specific project, that specific material. Change events, like I said, should be above change orders. So we're going to start with our change events. This relates both upstream and downstream change. Generally, I recommend if you think there's going to be anything impacting cost and schedule, you're creating a change event. So time and money that's different from what you've already committed, what you've already gone in there. I also have people managing allowances in here, managing like had people even creating every one of their commitments from here. I wouldn't, if it's in your original budget, don't create it here. But if it's not, if it's anything unrelated to your original budget, either increasing or decreasing that original budget, that prime contract, or a commitment that you've already written, create a change event. Invoicing, both client invoicing, and I wish we call it client invoicing. I think it's called owner invoicing in here, or commitment invoicing are both in there. So like if I broke this down under commitments, you have commitment change orders, you have commitment invoicing. And then if you have like under the prime contract, you have prime contract invoicing and subcontractor, like prime contract change orders. Just so you're aware, inside of each of these, if you go inside your prime contract, your client contract, you can see that change order. You can see that prime contract inside there as well. I can show you that real quick. So like inside here in the financial tools, they all really, really relate to each other and really go in. So underneath here, I have my change orders, my invoices, my payments, that all lives right inside there. And I have all my basic information about the prime contract right there. The client contract, as I like to call it. Resource management, you have your timesheets, crews, tickets, and equipment, tracking what equipment's on this job, who worked on this job. If you're managing your own crews and you need to track their time, timesheets is getting a lot better. You can start doing that through Procore. Crews, how do you split up the different crews, assign crews to a project? And then tickets, how do you track materials, labor that you don't have a commitment for? So either get your subs to fill this out for you, or you as a subcontractor fill this out so you can submit it to your general contractor. So right there. And then pre-construction last, I have my bidding. So this is downstream bids that I'm receiving, which is confusing because at the company level, they call it what do they call it? It's the plan room at the company level, and it's bidding here. And there's like a bid room or bidding at the company level, which is actually your estimating tool. So let's get consistent Procore. Let's call it the same thing. Or it's your bid board, sorry, at the company level. The estimating is called bid board at the company level, and that goes upstream. But we should call it estimating at the company level as well. With that, that's pretty much, it's a little longer than I wanted to talk to. An overview of all the different tools. We'll probably dive into a lot of these different tools as we go. If you have a tool that you really want to get into, leave it in the comments. I'm happy to jump into and record that one next. It could be out in a couple weeks and give you the details in and outs of each of these tools. So with that, thank you for taking the time. If you made it this far, please subscribe, and it will just encourage me to make more of these videos. I need to probably create more and more of them so that I don't have to explain this over and over again to each of our clients. But with that, have a wonderful rest of your day. If you need anything, as always, feel free to reach out, and I'll talk to you all later and see you in the next one.